Alright, so this video is gonna be very much so just like a rant of me. I don't have much of a plan for this, but I'm just like, keep on seeing one thing about young Sheldon that I'm just, irks me. So, recently I've been watching the show. I've already watched it, I'm watching it again, I've gotten back into it. And, as for some reason, like, sometime last year, I don't know if it's just me, but I just randomly got a bunch of young Sheldon clips. So I watched it, and I was like, I know the show. And, the clips always paint, like, Mary is a bad person. No, not good, because the most popular clips are the ones where Mary's doing something wrong, right? So, I was like, okay, Mary doesn't seem that good of a mother. And you watch the show, and it's like, okay, it's a lot more, I don't want to say nuanced, but I'm just saying it's a lot less black and white as the clips you see online paint as. I'm just going to talk about how gently overhated Mary is. She's not that bad. Like, is she the best mother? No. Is she even that much of a good mother? No. I wouldn't be like, oh, she's such a terrible mother, and George is a great father. You're just wrong. I don't know how to tell you. Honestly, maybe George is just, George is a better parent. Not by much. I mean, he didn't do that much. I mean, yeah, other than, support his family, do all that. But, I'm talking about, I don't get why people overglaze George. They harp on every problem Mary has, but then just ignore all of George's, that he really doesn't care about anything his wife does when it comes to her career and even what she does to support her family around the house, Also, that's shown in the scenes where he's not dealing with Sheldon at school, and she just calls Mary and is like, hey, I know you have a job right now, I know you're working, come home, or no, come home, deal with Sheldon. It's like, sorry, I'll talk about George's problems later. Like I said, this is more of a rant. But, okay, I'm just going to talk about Mary first off. Then I'll get to George and why I think it's a bit unfair how people treat both of them. First off, Mary, I hate people who are like, Mary had 1 kid, George had 3. And then just ignore, and they're like, oh, Mary had 1 moment, like the scene where, Missy was graduating elementary school, and she was congratulating both her and Sheldon. People are like, oh, the one scene. Yeah, it's not the one scene. Literally, in the same season, a couple episodes later, she is having a heartfelt moment with Missy as she goes off to middle school. In, 5 episodes. And even between then, she has more moments with Missy. Yes, Mary does coddle Sheldon because he's a special child with his intelligence and lack of social cues. People call him autistic. Technically, he's not, technically he's not autistic. I don't think they ever confirmed it. But, he has a bunch of problems of a kid who needs a lot of help because of his unique quirks. That's the best way to frame it, So, that's what I'm just trying to say. Of course, she's gonna put more attention on Sheldon. But, she still cares about her other kids. She's a lot more into Georgie. One of the first heart-to-hearts she has with any character in the show, from my memory, is when she talks to Georgie about how bad she was before, everything, right before she had a kid before she had Georgie, that was one of her, big heart-to-heart moments. She had a moment with Georgie. She also has a bunch of moments with Missy, and honestly, I feel like I said, those clips, I think, are the main reason why people hate Mary, because I think it's just a bunch of people who haven't seen young Sheldon, and then only watch the clips, and then go be like, oh yeah, Mary's terrible because of the clips I saw. Just, they're very deceiving, because for every bad moment that Mary has, she has, 3 good ones. So, honestly, I don't get it. I really don't get it. She shows care for her kids all the time, except no one wants to clip that because they're not viewable scenes. That's not gonna get them views, So they just ignore all her good traits and then only show the bad. Which, again, goes to my point of how people really like to harp on Mary's bad moments, which are very, I will say, very few and far between. honestly, George has a lot more comparable bad moments to Mary. I mean, I was just watching, I think it was season 4, episode 5 or something like that. Season 4, episode 4. And like, there's like a 3-episode stretch of George doing something bad. First off, and him sort of just being kind of a jerk to his wife and just not treating her properly. That was like for 2 episodes. Again, I've already talked about there's multiple instances of him not really caring about her job at all, and not what she does at all. Like, there's a lot of bad moments with George, but he's not a bad father. He just has flaws. And, I just hate how people only mention the good of George and not the bad of Mary. Both do good and bad things. Also, like, people harp on Mary for her stuff with Pastor Rob. Yeah, because she kind of emotionally cheated on George. But then, like, George did the same thing with Brenda. So, like, why are you only critiquing one of them? Honestly, I think it's just a really, like, things like that. It's just really hypocritical to an extent of, like, them just, like, really harping on everything bad Mary does, but only caring about the stuff George, harping on things Mary does bad, then, like, celebrating things George does good. Like, they're just like, watch the show. Just watch the show and you see their main moments with Mary being compassionate towards Missy, Georgie, and Sheldon. All 3 of them. And their main moments of her just being a lot better than you'll see her portrayed in, like, shorts and stuff like that. That's just what I want to say. Okay, first off, there's a lot more moments of Mary being better towards her kids. Just honestly, like, watch this show and see her care for Missy. Like, I hate when people are like, where Mary's like, oh, Missy doesn't like me. He's like, no crap, you never paid attention to her. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Just watch the show and you'll actually see it. Because honestly, I think 99% of people who, that's a bit much. Bit of hyperbole. A lot of the people who don't like Mary and comment online, get the likes, are the ones who haven't seen the show. Like, especially since, like, when people are like, oh, Mary's the one who killed George because she caused him so much stress. When they're picking out the clips from seasons earlier before he died, and, how years had passed by, and basically the whole thing of season 7 is that Mary and George had finally gotten a good place, and actually the best place in their relationship of the entire show, which is why George's death is so much sadder, is that he'd actually had a good relationship with Mary now. He'd actually been living well, which is why the heart attack came so randomly. That's the whole point. Like, years of stress. I really hate that point. And now again, Mary has her bad points. Again, everything with Pastor Rob, not good. Things like her not telling George about Sheldon's college acceptance letters. That's pretty bad. And Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. I also want to say, there's a bunch of dumb stuff that people hate on Marion in that show as well. Like, everything with Missy. I feel like people over-hate on Mary. They're like, oh, Mandy did it right, and all that. It's like, no. They're both equally right and wrong, okay? I don't really want to talk about that, because that's a different show I'm not talking about. So, yeah. But also, like, yeah, sure, her getting with Fagenbacher, who is trying to get rid of her son's business. And no, her house is on the line. For this, if his business fails, her house is gone. And she's dating the person who also just disrespected her late husband. Like, yeah, she has rough patches like that. But, like, yeah, I don't get why people always harp on her bad. Like, she has a lot of good moments with Missy, Georgie, Sheldon, all of them. And her husband, George. And George has a lot of bad moments, too, but no one mentions that. I think it's just really stupid. I think Mary overall is just insanely overhated. Also, quick thing. Like, you'll see, a lot of times, Mary tries to do stuff with Missy, and she says no. She goes away. She leaves. Missy's not that good of a kid. Like, she does a lot of bad stuff. And, and, like, especially, like, I'm at season 4 right now on my rewatch, and Mary is very excited, very comforting towards Missy, and sometimes even more than Sheldon. So I'm like, I don't get why we're getting the notion of Mary hates all her other kids or only cares about Sheldon, only does stuff for Sheldon, because that's just not true. Like, anyways, yeah, like I said, oh my god. Like I said, this is just kind of a big rant of mine, so take that what you will. So, if you've actually seen the show, do you think Mary's overhated? I think she's overhated. Like, I know it's a bit of a random video, may not be with my audience, but still, I just think she's just way, way too overhated for no, like, of course, there is reason. She has her bad moments, but then, like, no one hates on Georgie or George for their bad moments. It's just Mary, and I don't get why. Anyways, so my opinion, Mary's a good character. I don't really get all the hate towards her, and honestly, I think it's just from insufferable people who haven't seen the show. Yeah. So, tell me your opinion in the comments, and